All right, let's finish up our notes for this week. We have 4 questions left to do together. Why don't we start the first one and I'll let you do some parts of it on your own. What you'll notice here is that we have 2 radicals, and I'm going to suggest that you always want to isolate the complicated radical. So in this question, the root of 2x plus 4 looks more complicated than the root of x plus 3. You don't have to do this step. I just think it makes it a little easier. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. Now, as always, we're going to square both sides to get rid of the radical on the right. Why don't you pause your video and open the brackets on the left. You simplified on the left and got x plus 4 plus 2 times the root of x plus 3. And of course, on the right, 2x plus 4. Now we can isolate our radical again. Square both sides again. Now we see we have a quadratic equation. So let's get rid of that denominator, multiply both sides by 4. And why don't you stop and finish solving here? You finished solving the quadratic equation. You found you had 2 possible answers, x equals 6 and x equals -2. Remember, you have to check your solutions when you're solving a radical equation. When we substituted those in, we found that x equals 6 gave us a true solution, but x equals -2 was not true. Remember, when we're asking for the square root of a number, we're looking for the principal or positive root. So we have one solution here, x equals 6. Let's look at question 4 now. We want to isolate our complicated radical, so we're going to subtract the square root of x from both sides. Why don't you go ahead and solve this equation? After you squared both sides, you ended up with this equation. Now we can isolate the radical. Again, we can square both sides and find that x equals 5. You need to check your solution. 5 minus 9 is 4. So what do we have here? Oops, x doesn't equal 5, it equals 25. That's a mistake. Make sure you actually square both sides. Okay, let's try checking again. 25 minus 9 is 16, plus the square root of 25. There we go. X equals 25 is a solution. Why don't you go ahead and try solving question 5? You isolated the complicated radical, and now you can square both sides. You want to isolate your radical again, and then square both sides again. You should have found that x equals 1, and when you checked your answer, you got a true equation, so x equals 1 is our solution. When we look at question 6, both of these radicals are pretty complicated, so I would suggest we can go ahead and square both sides just the way it is. Why don't you finish this question? I hope you found that x equals 5, and when you checked your answer, it gave a true statement, and so x equals 5 is our solution. Again, we have a set of practice questions in your class notes here. The answers are posted on the class Moodle page. I would suggest you use these to help you prepare for your test and your final exam.